Carlsbad, New Mexico put out the welcome mat decades ago when the United States government was looking for an underground site to bury its nuclear waste.
They had a willing place that says, we have salt, we have experienced miners, we have lots of federal land, we have a willing community.
So in 1971, the U.S. Department of Energy began work on the Waste Isolation Pilot Plant, or WIPP as it's known. 15 years ago, WIPP started putting nuclear waste, sealed in 55-gallon drums, deep inside a mined-out salt bed. Lots and lots of nuclear waste. To date, 171,000 drums of nuclear waste. Everything went fine until February 14th of this year.
We still don't know what happened. We know that one or more containers was breached and released some or all of its contamination.
You're looking at the aftermath of the explosion, in which 22 workers, nearly a full kilometer above ground, were exposed to radiation. There would have been a lot more workers, but an underground truck fire days earlier was still under investigation, so there were no employees deep inside the site at the time of the event.
In early May, the camera got to see a container that is now breached, has holes in it.
The lid simply blew off one of the sealed drums, forcing the WIPP site to shut down. Since then, the U.S. has had no place to store its nuclear waste.
When you see pictures of this container being breached, you can't see pictures, nor can anybody else see what's going on with this drum in the middle.
Don Hancock has been studying WIPP for decades and is the Nuclear Waste Program Director for the watchdog agency Southwest Research Information Center.
This event was never supposed to happen. One of the things we can take away is, while geologic repositories sound like a good idea, putting waste that's dangerous deep underground.
Hancock calls Carlsbad a company town. And if you're wondering about the legions of furious residents who are worried about the long-term effects, you won't find them.
You would find one person in Carlsbad who would be willing to come to a public meeting to raise concerns about WIPP.
Woody, like that, Woody. Come on, Woody.
Betty Richards.
He's a good boy.
This is Betty Richards. It would be fair to call her an aging hippie.
Oh, I'm a minimalist. I believe in not putting a large footprint on the earth. Come on, Lucky.
Nowadays, she spends much of her time tending to stray animals. She long ago stopped voicing concerns about WIPP, tired of the scientists and physicists labeling her as crazy for her views and her lifestyle. Richards gets no pleasure out of saying, "I told you so."
We were right. It shouldn't have happened, and it should never have been built. I think it should just be sealed over and go back to square one, because this is not the place for it.
The Waste Isolation Pilot Plant was supposed to operate safely for 50,000 years. It didn't make it 20 before the first serious accident. The major challenge now is the cleanup and recovery that will cost hundreds of millions of dollars. And when will this facility reopen? That's anyone's guess. Catherine Brown is the state representative from the region. Her husband has worked at WIPP for 30 years, and she's heard the charges that the contamination is so severe the site may never reopen.
I don't think there's any doubt that WIPP will open. I think there is some uncertainty about when, and I'm hearing anything from 2 years to maybe 3 years.
The U.S. Department of Energy is responsible for the site and wouldn't talk on camera, but admits determining what caused the explosion and radiation leak and the cleanup are monumental tasks. The DOE has been holding public hearings in Carlsbad since the accident.
We're just as anxious as everyone else to get the facility back into operations and return our workforce to their essential function.
In large part, WIPP was built to handle nuclear waste from the Rocky Flats plant in Colorado, a site that built tens of thousands of nuclear weapons until it shut down in 1992. But officials say the drum that ruptured came from the Los Alamos National Lab, a nuclear weapons site also in New Mexico, about a 4-hour drive from Carlsbad. It spread plutonium radiation, which is extremely harmful if inhaled. Catherine Brown says the WIPP site has been a good neighbor and a good employer.
This is a blip on our record, and so we'd like to see it open as soon as possible.
That, Hancock says, is a gross misstatement.
We still don't know all the basics. We still don't know what happened, We don't know why it happened. We don't know the specific containers that were involved. We don't know how much radioactivity was released. We don't know how to clean it up. Again, there's never been a radiologically contaminated salt mine that's been decontaminated.
Hancock is among the many who believe the waste isolation pilot plant will never reopen. Too much damage, too many unknowns, leaving the U.S. with a burning question that is getting little attention: what to do with its growing supply of dangerous nuclear waste. Sean Caleb's CCTV, Carlsbad, New Mexico.